These are my last hours here in Miami, and I decided to come back to this place related to the Holocaust. And I was trying to think why I was here, what brought me to this place now, and I was alone, and suddenly a woman showed up and gave me this, which is the Gospel of John. This is a Jewish place, but somehow a Christian woman showed up and gave me that and said maybe it's useful for you. So I thought clearly is related to the Gospel of John. So I had to read it because, of course, I'm not Christian, so I haven't read the Bible, so I have no idea. But apparently in the Gospel of John, the most important sentence is, and God was the Word, and the Word created the world, something like this. So it's the beginning of everything. And the word is translated from logos, which actually means wisdom, knowledge. So how every word encodes important information, important data. And that kept me thinking about what we usually talk about, the poison language, and how the way we say things are so manipulated is because of the culture, the tradition, our emotions, and the same word, the same intention can be completely manipulated by someone else by saying the wrong story and making everyone believe something that is not. And one of our main goals in the path of consciousness is try to use the poison of the words to turn them into medicine. And as in the Gospel of John, apparently Jesus says, I am the light, I am life, I am love, I am the way. And those words can also be manipulated in many different ways by others, because of course the words of Jesus were not written by Jesus, they were written by other people, and they were translated by other people and interpreted by others, and eventually when it reaches us, it has gone through so many interpretations, translations, misunderstandings, and suddenly we create conflicts, wars, separation, because we don't dare to ask, or we don't dare to speak about it and to wonder. As I said, I don't believe in any religion, but I'm open to all the philosophies that come from religion and try to understand what are the codes behind all of them. In the same way as I am going to places that some of you might not like, and I hang out with people that you might not like. But it's not that I like it, it's that I'm trying to understand what is behind it, what is the code or the spell that we kind of need to rewrite, to understand. Because you cannot change a reality without transforming your perception of that reality. We have to, at one point, rethink what we are saying, question what we receive, and sometimes to realize that when you use the words in the wrong position, you can manipulate a whole point of view. So so one of the reasons why I decided to come here to talk about this is because the code of the universe is vibration, is frequency, and most of the ancient words that have been said that created us, like in the Hindu tradition, in the Chinese tradition, in the European tradition, in the Hebrew tradition, all the ancient languages have been saying the interpretations of God and the truth. And today it's very difficult to say what is the truth, because truth requires trust, and those two words come from the same thing. Truth and trust, they have the same origin. And truth is the ability to have trust, and trust means actually trunk. It means the tree, the wood of a tree. The trust is the stability, the presence from which you hold something in your reality. And if you embody it, if you become it, you are giving trust to others. Trust is not something you have to earn or win. It's something you have to embody. And from there, you become a truth for so many. Even if your reflection is the wrong one, you become a truth. Like it happens with culture, with traditions, with philosophies, even with myself. Everything that I do is because I trust in me. I trust what I am, so it gives you trust in what I'm doing. And remember that there's been many times that I have to go to the Vatican, for example, and I had to go to Jerusalem, I had to go to specific places in the planet that for some people represent something, whether it's confusing, whether it's wrong. It can be like some of you might think, what is Matias doing working with these people or going into these places? But what is behind it is that I'm trying to understand where are the mistakes, where are the perceptions, the words that have been said that trapped us in a specific reality, in a specific truth that is not the full perception, the full reality. And so that's why you're going to see me very close to things that some of you might think is not the right way or not the right position. But the truth is, I have no enemies. I am trying to understand the position of my trust. I'm trying to understand, to get the idea of what consciousness is, which is not good or bad. And to rethink the concepts of the words that we say, that we use, which is a very difficult thing because of our traditions, because of our cultures. And we have been trapped so much in words that are not true. And sometimes by mistakes, sometimes on purpose, but all the stories that we are telling to the world from ourselves and the world telling to us, they're all manipulated, not by someone, but by perception. And I think this is something that I wanted to point out right now. Because of everything that we have to build together from now on. We are in the week of sodium, and sodium is building the structure of Metatron. Metatron has no morality. Metatron is a concept. It's like saying the sky. Is the sky good or wrong? It's just the sky. We don't know what it is. We can learn how to use it, we can fly towards it, we can cross it through the atmosphere. But what is the sky? It has an end, it has a beginning, it's big, it's small. What is the sky? So Metatron is kind of the same. It's something like the sky that we need to learn what it is, how to use it, why does it exist. And ancient traditions have tried to understand it. But from now on with sodium, I set the intention to start a covenant of salt, which is a trust in all this information. Yeah? Sorry. There was like a interference, but all good. So the intention of the covenant of salt, as I was saying, for me the intention of the covenant of salt in this week of sodium represents to try to find out the trust in how we, with different perceptions, can form consciousness. Because imagine a circle of trees that all of them are standing in a circle and everyone keeps its position. So as we all keep our own point of view and our own position, and we trust in that position, that's how we can shape the circle. That's how we can create the rounded table. And the wind that blows in between the circle is what we call consciousness. The light that moves in between the branches is what we call consciousness. Consciousness is not a position. Consciousness is a wave. So if consciousness is a wave, then you cannot be or hold consciousness. You cannot be the owner of consciousness. You cannot decide who is conscious and who is not. You can only receive the wind, and some people will be annoyed by the wind, and some people will be refreshed by the wind. So in that circle, my intention is for me to locate myself in one of those trees, to try to understand how the wind is being modified by the other trees around, and how can we take benefit of the passage of the wind that we call consciousness. So through our history, each culture, each tradition, each language has been trying to own the truth, own a perception, to become the bringers of truth, but that is not consciousness. Consciousness is not about finding the truth. It's about constantly finding adjustments in the currents of the wind, in the currents and tides of the ocean. So the intention, the idea that I set today is that we start to trust more in ourselves than the position of others. That the position of others can be a point of reference for our own adjustment, but cannot be the leadership for our own truth. And today in our world where everyone is able to talk in Instagram or YouTube or TikTok, in all these platforms, about their own truth and their own point of views, and they can say many things in many different ways. A lot of lives can be destroyed and changed by the perception. So I think one of the biggest tasks that we have as Covenant of Salt, as the keepers of the observers of the sky, of this Metatron that is not good, not evil, that is just a sky, it's just a concept, as keepers of that adjustment and keepers of that resonance. For word is God and God is word. So the way you say a word can create or destroy in the same way as the divine creates and destroys. But always with the back of adjustment. So I explained to you the other day that here in Florida, in the south of Miami, is where the current of the Gulf starts that gives life to the north part of the planet. Iceland, Norway, Sweden, England, France, Germany, Denmark, Ireland, all those countries are alive because of this current. All those countries are alive because of the waters that move from this territory. So everything that we are following from the north, every story, every tradition, every way of thinking can shift completely. It can turn into a new ice age if from here we don't correct the tide, we don't correct the current. So this is why for me I believe it's very important to change the course of a story, to change the course of how we perceive things. Because what we are going to build together is not a new world. What we are going to build together is simply an adjustment of a wave that crosses this circle. A circle of stones, a circle of people, a circle of trees. But it's just a circle. And through it, consciousness can get in only if we are flexible enough to feel the movement of that wave in between all of us, instead of trying to control it, trying to own it. I know it's a very tough journey, a very tough path, but my suggestion here is that try to think with the right logos, with the right mind, from where someone is telling you something, from where someone is sharing a truth. Because whenever it's from the point of view of destroying someone's lives, of going against something, that is not consciousness. That is ego trying to control consciousness. So the same word can be destruction or can be correction. So let the story of the salt begin in the next few months, in the next weeks, in between sodium and chloride, to create the covenant of salt. I set that intention. An eye for an eye, a boat for a boat, an oak for an oak.